So whoever wants to propose to a woman, he is entitled to looking at that which usually appears or customarily appears. Customarily appears where?
The place?
The
place where you are? In public?
At home. No, not in public. For certain, he's not talking about public. Because in public, qadamayha would only be okay to appear according to the Hanafi madhab, not the Malikis, not the Shafi'is, not the Hanbalis. So for certain, he's talking about what customarily appears at home. Otherwise, what's the distinction between the Khatib and anyone else if these are things that would appear in public? What is his entitlement? Okay, so first of all, looking is important. Looking is important. And it has been reported by Imam Muslim, rahimahullah, from Abu Hurairah, that a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he told him that I had proposed to a woman. The Prophet said to him, أَنَظَرْتَ إِلَيْهَا قال لا قال انظر إليها فإن في أعين الأنصار شيئا. So the Prophet said to him, had you looked at her? He said no. And then the Prophet ﷺ said to him, look at her because there is something in the eyes of Al-Ansar, which means something undesirable by the Muhajirin, something undesirable by the Meccans. Maybe the eyes of the Ansar were a little bit narrower than what the Meccans usually desired. So the Prophet ﷺ is basically alerting him that, you guys desire a certain appearance and you do want to look at her to make sure that you're comfortable with how she appears before you marry her. And this is extremely important. Imam Ahmad, in fact, said that you should not ask first about her deen. This was Mardawi reported this in Al-Insaf from Imam Ahmad. He said that the first thing you should ask about is not her deen. You should ask about her beauty first. So then if you know that she's beautiful, you ask about her deen. And if she is religious, then you proceed. And if she is not religious, then you refrain. Then you would have refrained for the lack of religiosity, not the lack of beauty. Because if you ask about her deen, and then you know that she is religious, and then you proceed and then you look at her and she's not beautiful, or, beautiful is relative, right? Beauty is relative. She's not beautiful in your eyes. So if you ask about her religiosity and then you're told that she is religious, and then you proceed, and then you discover that she's not beautiful, and you refrain, then you would have rejected a religious woman for the lack of beauty. That is unbefitting. That is hurtful. So first ask about her beauty, or try to figure out if you are content with her appearance. And then you ask about her religiosity, so that when you make your final decision, you're proceeding or refraining on the basis of her religiosity. So there are many ahadith to this effect, which is that you do need to be comfortable with how your spouse looks. Now, can we say the same applies to the sisters? Yes, absolutely. They are entitled to be accepting or rejecting. However, they are not the ones that are seeking out, so the Prophet ﷺ did not say, go look for like a handsome man, but when someone, like a man, proposes to her and she does not feel that she is comfortable with his looks, she has the right to say no. She needs to be content with his appearance as well. Now the extent of looking, or the extent of that which you could look at or could be shown to the khatib. What is the extent? How much of the body could be shown? So now he said, كوجهها وكفيها وقدميها, like her face, her hands, and her feet.